Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends, as this video is brought to you by drroto.com.
Good morning, everybody. It is week 9, college football game plan. I'm Chris Emrick, hosting today, and then the man of the hour, the man with the information, Coach White. How the hell you doing?
Good, man. I mean, outside of allergies hitting me like a ton of bricks right before I got on, outside of that, I'm doing all right, man. We got 14 games we're going to tackle. A massive slate today on Draftkings. And we actually have a game at 4 o'clock, and it's that Wake Forest Duke game. We kind of want to talk about that because last week, if you didn't have Wake, you weren't winning any money.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild sports day. Not only do we have the 14 game slate for college football and many other games, we've got the UFC card going on right now, 267. Yeah. We've got a 10 game NBA slate. We've got an 8 game NHL slate. You've got Xfinity and truck races if that's what you're into. So I even think that the World Series is going on today too. So I mean, all major sports, all accessory sports. We've got the semifinals. T1 has a 2-1 lead over tournament favorite Dan1 Gaming right now. Faker could win another championship. Would be super crazy. But all right, let's get into this college football because that's what we're here to talk about. So first things first, let's talk about a couple of these games like that we're crossing out, a couple of games that we want to be on. I think that Wake Forest game, from what I've looked at, is absolutely one. Even on the Duke side of things, that has some interesting spots that we can kind of utilize in our lineups, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely some interesting pieces there. Finally, Wake Forest is priced up. I mean, it took them long enough. So that would be the only thing keeping me away. But, I mean, Duke can't stop Wake Forest. We just need Duke to score points so Wake Forest doesn't stop throwing the ball. Wake kind of runs the ball with 3 different running backs. You don't really want to try to hit their running game. You really want them to have to continue to pass for them to hit values. So we'll get to that. As far as the games that we're looking to cross off, for me, it's Florida State, Clemson. Both offenses are just not great. Clemson's been struggling all year. I mean, even last week we saw them lose to Pitt, which we'll talk about. The win against Miami.
I've got one that we can cross off too. Iowa, Wisconsin, 37 total, right?
Yes, but there is only one play and one play only we will talk about there. But
okay.
Yes, as a whole game, we can cross it up. But I actually have an interesting piece in that game.
Okay.
Outside of that, there's kind of bits and pieces of every game that you could find some sort of value in. Cincy Tulane, Cincy's going to win, but they're probably going to win by 30. It's Jerome Ford. He needs to go off for 3 touchdowns to hit his $9,000 price tag, but that's really the only option I take there.
That was something that I was looking at. Is Ford is definitely the piece that you want, but I initially, before I looked at pricing, I was like, Ford, I looked back at the games that they were favored, the games that they rolled, and I thought Ford was going to be a great play. And then I kind of, looked over, and at 9,200, you've got Robinson, you've got Vaughn, you got a couple other guys that I think have a little bit safer ceilings. And it's weird to say, like Ford's kind of median in his range of outcomes. He just doesn't get to that ceiling very often. And at 9,200, that's absolutely what you're hoping for. I think he probably does like 5 to 10% of the time. And when he does, he smashes. But that's kind of what you need at 9,200. So right there, I'm learning. I've been on the show a couple times. So I'm paying attention. I don't watch all the games. There is one game that I think is super exciting to watch today, and that's the Michigan State game. But
yes, absolutely. So, I mean, that's a great point with Ford. I'm 100% on board with that take. Like, I would pay up for Robinson in a heartbeat. I would find the $500 extra to get Beach on in my lineup over Ford, especially if it's Texas against Baylor, where it's going to be back and forth, and your running back's going to stay in the game all 4 quarters. We have no idea if Ford's going to be in there in the 4th quarter. So yeah, you're spot on there. You definitely have been paying attention, man.
And yeah, so when we were talking just right before the show, it just seemed like most of these running backs that we want and the quarterbacks are priced up. The ones that are in the games are going to be more expensive. And so I almost felt like, tinkering with a lineup and, doing this kind of the build that we had been doing throughout the weeks, where we start with the quarterback, we figure out the stack, and then kind of go from there. I don't know if that's the best route, because I just wasn't finding myself with enough money in my last spot, in my flex and my super flex and my running back, I almost think that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of where we want to lock one of those guys in, if not both of them, just to start off. And I don't think that on a 14-game slate, we need to kind of run it back. I think that that's something that we've kind of handcuffed ourselves into, at least in the lineups that we've built on the show, is finding that run back situation. And I think it's bit us in the butt a few times, where we nail the main stack, just don't hit the run back. Maybe we don't go all in on it or whatever the case is. I mean, certainly if we had played Wake and Navy Army, what the military one, that would have been okay. That would have been a good run back. I don't think we could have missed that because they spread it out. But where are we starting today? Let's bring up the screen. Let's add it up. And where are we starting with our build?
Yeah. So, I mean, today there's so many options. I mean, it's really finding the game we want to target. And if we do want to have a bring back spot, because with 14 games in college football, there's going to be one person that just absolutely goes off in every game. There's always got to be one. So, when you have 14 games to choose from, we don't need to have a 3 to 4 man stack when we have 4 games of 60 points of over-unders. It's not like NFL, we're targeting 2 games. We can target 6 games on this slate that are really interesting for fantasy. So first thing, let's try to find not a value, but a high-scoring game where we think the ball's just going to move on both sides. And I think it's going to be the Texas-Baylor. So we've got 2 options at quarterback here. We've got Casey Thompson for Texas, and then we've also got Jerry Bohannon. And I believe that Texas, after their bye week, is just going to pound Bijan Robinson. I mean, it's going to be just hand him the ball off, let him get possibly 30 touches, 5 receptions out of the backfield. And then if Texas ends up going down, then Casey Thompson will take over and start throwing to Xavier Worthy. But I think Texas wins this game. So I like Bijan Robinson. And then if I'm playing Bijan, I'm for sure playing Bohannon on the opposite side because Baylor will have to throw to keep up with Texas. So for me, Bohannon, it was my second favorite quarterback on the slate. Number 1 is Sam Hartman at $9K for Wake Forest. But if we don't want to pay all the way up, I really do like Jerry Bohannon in this matchup against Texas.
Okay, I agree. So that was, there were 3 or 4 different quarterbacks that I was looking at. This one absolutely makes sense because I think the other one, it doesn't kind of fit what you were saying. It kind of rhymes with fit, but I'm not necessarily sure that the other side of the ball in that Pitt Miami game is going to move the ball as efficiently. Obviously, I think it's Van Dyke is his name, not the prolific quarterback that you'd want manning your program. And obviously that wasn't the design. It's just what's happened. So we've got these 2 guys here. One guy that you put in your write-up and one guy that, I've seen kind of some murmurs around is a wide receiver. I feel like this is probably a one-off wide receiver. I don't know if you know where I'm going, but he burned us last week. That's okay. I'm thinking David Bell. Yep. Am I wrong there, or should we just lock in Bell?
We're going right back to it.
Okay.
I mean, last week, like you said, you don't watch the games, but if you watched even 2 drives, you would notice Wisconsin, they blitzed about 90% of the plays, and we just couldn't get Bell behind that secondary. There wasn't a single chance. So he saw 10 targets. He saw the targets we were looking for, but he had 6 receptions for 33 yards. It was just quick slip screen. And we saw the tight end actually absolutely gash Wisconsin, Payne Durham, because all the quarterback, he found out that they were blitzing and he would just dump it over the line. Boom, Payne Durham, the tight end, went off. That's why there is one play in that Iowa game I like. Let's actually go there just really quick because he's one of my favorite values. It's going to be Sam Laporta, the tight end for Iowa. He's actually one of the top 5 best tight ends in the entire college football, and Wisconsin's going to do the same thing. They're going to blitz Iowa exactly like they just did against Purdue, and I think we could find Laporta at maybe 1% ownership. And it's not like he doesn't see the targets. He gets about 5 receptions a game, and he sees about 8 targets every game. And in this game, I'm expecting upwards of 10 targets. Iowa's not the favorite here, which makes no sense. That's actually going to be one of our parlays. Iowa wins this game, man. Wisconsin will not beat this Iowa team.
Okay.
So once we get to that parlay, we're definitely going to play Iowa, and I think Sam Laporta is a big part of the reason that they win this game.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that gave us some salary savings. We do need to lock in another running back, though. Are we going there first, or are we going somewhere else?
You know what, man? Let's pay up all the way for Bijan. It's a 40.
I got Bijan. I already have him. He's locked in.
Okay, great. All right, let's see. Let's see what we got then. I was not looking. I didn't think you locked him in yet.
Yeah, I locked in Bijan. I locked in Bohannon. I mean, in a couple of the other builds that I was playing with, I was trying to get to some of those higher end guys. Some guys that I liked and looked at. I guess one of the concerns that I have, the biggest concern is that Michigan State game. I really just think that it can go either way. And I think if you put yourself into one side of it and take a stand, that's okay. That's just not how I want to take a stand on either of those teams, because I can totally see either of these teams winning like 21-7, and this not being a high scoring affair and it just being completely lopsided, and it eliminates, the running back on one side of it. But like trying to lock in Vaughn, who I think is in a great spot from KSU against TCU, it's just too, like, it's very prohibitive. It puts us at 4,300 with 3 other spots. And, I just don't know 4,300, 4,300 salary guys just don't really do it for us.
No, they don't. So, I mean, if we're looking for that secondary running back, I'm actually going to go to the opposite side of that Purdue game and play Nebraska's Ramir Johnson at 6,600. So he's kind of right in the middle there. He's not necessarily value, but he will be value when he goes off for about 25 points today. Honestly, they gave him the backfield against Oklahoma in week 3. They went down really early and they quit running the ball. But even in that game, he's seeing receptions too. He's got 3 receptions, 2, 1, 6, 1. But in 2 of those games, he's been pulled early because Nebraska has been up too much. Another game he had a concussion, and he's still putting up 20 points in the games where he's getting pulled. And another one last week, he had that concussion against Minnesota where he got pulled before halftime, and he already had 21.9 points. Once they decided to feed Johnson, he's taken over completely in this backfield, and they quit running so much with Adrian Martinez, their rushing quarterback, once they found out that Johnson was the real deal. So I love Johnson until he's priced up over 7,500. I'm going to just keep hammering him. And hopefully he doesn't get a concussion and not score us over 20 points this week.
Yeah. Let's hope that doesn't happen. So speaking of concussions, I know that you said Apakanda is going to play.
Yes.
I don't know. You tried to say the name. I tried to say the name. We probably both failed. I'm not going to try again. Yeah. Okay. All right. Got it. We've got Hammond and Davis. Do you think either of them are worth kind of like a stab? And I'm talking about V Davis, not A Davis Jr. Or maybe A Davis Jr. But looking into it, looked like Hammond and Davis were both guys that if Avancana was out, they would almost be kind of like lock button plays just because of the salary that they're at. Like, Hammond's at 4,200. This guy, is getting somewhere between 6 to 12 carries, but not really producing on that. Just kind of got that one game. Are we we're not interested in him because Apakanda is playing?
That's it, man. I did like Rodney Hammond Jr. at 4,200. He's the more explosive of the two. And this game's supposed to be a little bit cold, and there's going to be intermittent showers, so the rain. So I think it's going to be where Pitt tries to get up early and just run the clock out. So I really liked Rodney Hammond if Abanikanda wasn't playing. But as of right now, he and Jordan Addison are both warming up and stretching pregame. So, unless I hear otherwise, those two are both going to play.
Well, if they're warming up and they're stretching, these are concussions. These aren't things that, like, they're going to aggravate their hamstring or they're testing it out. These guys are playing. And at that point, does Abanikanda become a play? I mean, he's 5,200 in a game where Pitt's favored by 9. They have a high over-under. I think Pitt does win this game. I think they do cover. And, all those other things about weather, does he become like at 5,200? That's where our average price is right now. So we do have a flex spot open for him. Are we locking and loading there, or are we going somewhere else?
Ooh, I just don't like the upside there. Like, I because of the concussion, let's say that they do go up and they give him 10 rushes, Davis 10 rushes, Hammond 10 rushes, and then none of them truly hit value. And that's a backfield I don't really want a part of unless he was out. Because Pitt, they just, even in the games that they've gone up. So when we're looking at Virginia Tech, I mean, he smashed. He went for 141, but he also ran the ball 21 times. And then the week after they played Clemson, where they really needed him and he got injured, puts up 10 points. I mean, once he's in games and they're going up, he's averaging about 15 to 20 points a game. So he's definitely worth it. But I just expect in this game, if they don't want to run him 20 times because who wants to run their guy that, just hurt his head? What if he goes out the next week and that, they're going to play against, I believe it's North Carolina next week. And it's not an easy schedule for Pitt coming up. So they're going to try to save their guys. I really want to stay away from that backfield just because the unknowns.
All right. Well, I'm playing a couple large field ones. I'll throw him into a couple other lineups after we get off the show, because I do understand your analysis. I think it's sound. I think he still has the upside, but probably not in this smaller field. There's just too much downside. So where are we going? Do we want to fill in that flex? Do we want to go into the wide receiver? We're at 5,200 total salary per, well, not total, but average per guy. So we do need some value here.
So 5,200. Okay, let's see. Let's try to. I really liked, and it goes back to that pick game, man. I'm struggling because I love Jared Wayne at 4,000 if Addison was out. And I keep just looking at updates right now to see if we finally got like a confirmed in or out, because 4K, people would go to Tazir Mack 100%. And Jared Wayne would actually, Tazir Mack's role doesn't change. We saw Addison last year get hurt about 3 or 4 different times. Mm-hmm. And they had Wayne come in, and he was the guy that would get the 9 to 12 targets. Tazir Mack would still stay at about 6 to 8. His role doesn't change. It would be Wayne, and at 4K, he's in a smash spot. And I had him in all my lineups until I found out that Addison was warming up. So right now, finding that value, it was Laporta and Wayne for me. If we want to play anybody else in like a Texas or Texas Tech game, we've got a few different options here. I do like Kalen Geiger Jr. for Texas Tech at 4,800. And then also Josh Moore at 4,900 for Texas. So we do have 2 wide receiving options under that 5,200 price tag. Texas Tech, last week we saw them go up early against Kansas State. We played that game stack, and they didn't have to throw the ball at all. I mean, even their wide receivers were rushing the ball. The first play from the game, we saw Ezekanma take that 50-yard rush to the house, and then he didn't get a single reception. So frustrating. But Geiger's would be the main beneficiary in this offense if they did go behind and they have to start throwing the ball. And they are. They're going to be playing from behind for sure. I mean, it's Oklahoma. I expect Oklahoma to win this game. So I think Kalen Geiger at 4,800 is mispriced this week. So I like.
Okay, so let me throw a couple guys at you and just see what you think in terms of value wide receivers. One of the guys that projects out really well is going to be Charlie Kohler at 4,100. How do you feel about him?
Well, that would put 2 tight ends in our lineup, which I'm not against. I mean, last week on FanDuel, I had all 3 tight ends. I had Michael Mayer, Dolchich from UCLA, and Jones from Virginia. So, I mean, that worked out. I ended up cashing with 3 tight ends in my lineup. But that's FanDuel where it's touchdown dependent. In DraftKings where it's point per reception, Kohler is that secondary option because Xavier Hutchinson is their number 1 wide receiver. But if, West Virginia does a pretty good job of locking down number 1s. So I don't mind Kohler. But another play in that Miami game, if you want to go on the Miami side,
Keyshawn Smith.
Keyshawn Smith, that's it, man.
That was the next guy I was bringing up, man. That was
3,700. So if you really do like the game, and Miami will be playing from behind, and they're going to have to throw the ball. So Keyshawn Smith should see those targets. He's been getting an uptick in targets the past 4 games, so I don't mind that play at all.
So let's take a look at this. What if we went Keyshawn Smith and we went Kohler, and maybe like you said, this kind of does limit some extreme upside. Like maybe you're not playing this in the $20, but this gives us a super flex of 7,900 if we play both of those guys. And I'm not saying that we need to, but that opens up some things. Like we could go back and we talked about Wake Forest. We could go and play. We could play Robertson, or we could even play like Duggan from TCU. Those are 2 things that opens. A.T. Perry is open. Hutchinson is even open at that point. We've got a lot of options if we put those 2 guys together. Do you think I should take one of them out, or do you do you have a lean? I think Kohler seems like he's just projects a little bit higher than Smith.
Yeah. Projection-wise, yes. But for upside, Smith is an outside wide receiver. So if we're looking for upside, it's Smith. If we're looking for a little bit of safety, it's Kohler. So I would take out Kohler, man. Because right now we're a pretty safe lineup, if I'm being honest. Let's take a chance.
So that puts us at 6,000. That's where we're left at, 6,000.
Okay. So now we can get a little bit fancy here. Let's go with Jalen Naylor. We've been on and off him all year, 5,800. I really like him in that flex spot. Like you said, that Michigan State game could just be a run fest and turn out to be 17-7. And I could see that, but at the same time, I think one of those teams wants to make a statement. They're both 7-0. And I think if one goes up, they're not going to just let off. They're going to need to put up some points to fend off the other team. So I'm expecting maybe 24-31 final in that game. Michigan probably pulls that off. So I like Naylor to catch about 8 balls, 70 yards, and hopefully a touchdown.
I like it. So that leaves us at 6,200 with the super flex. Gives us guys like Justin Ross, Goodson, Thorne, if we want to kind of match it up with Naylor, Zamir White, this guy Emory Jones, who I don't know if we want to play a quarterback against UGA. You said not to, so
yeah. So let's pair up Tyquan Thornton with Bohannon for Baylor. It's their number 1 wide receiver, and then we have a little mini game stack with the Texas Baylor game. Tyquan Thornton is, they're number 1, and it's not even close. We've seen him go off. West Virginia a couple weeks ago put up 41 points. He's very hit or miss, but he's the type that in a high-scoring game where I think Texas goes up. If we're playing Bohannon, this is the guy he's throwing the ball to. Plain and simple.
All right, well let's lock it in.
We're not playing Bohannon naked because he doesn't run the ball. If we're playing a naked quarterback, we want him to have that rushing upside. So we need to have some faith in Bohannon to toss some touchdowns in, and they'll be going to Thornton.
All right, so what I'm going to do is what we just talked about is I am going to grab this Bohannon lineup. We are going to do a little change here. I'm going to throw the other lineup in there, like that we talked about. I feel you. And so would we go to somebody if we did the other option and we went Kohler, Laporta, Smith? Who's that $7,900 guy that we're going to? Are we going to Robertson at that point? Are we going to Duggan? Are we going to Perry?
I would.
Are we going to Hutchinson?
Yes. No, well, because we already have Kohler, so we wouldn't want. Then we would play Brock Purdy and have the quarterback for Iowa State. So I would play Roberson. Yes,
that's what I thought you were going to do. That's what I felt too. All right, so we've got that, and then. So help me with the lineup that I made because obviously you told me it was bad and for different reasons. So we're taking out Corbin immediately. And you know what? You know who I'm going to just immediately put in there? I'm going to put Apoconda in there. It gives us 1,300 to do some other things. We've got Pickett. We've got Thompson. Where can I change here? Probably going to take out Kroll, right? So give me 5,100. We've got a little bit Naylor already. So maybe I don't want to expand that. And you don't like Zamir White. So let's build from here.
Okay. Well, let's just try a little value running back spot. And let's go to Stephen Carr for Indiana against Maryland. Indiana is going to be on their freshman quarterback that is never plays. So they're going to be leaning on that run game big time. And Maryland's just been gashed by running backs the past 3 to 4 weeks. 5,500 is a great price for him. Let's see, what else did you throw in? You went back to Smith there and then Hutchinson. Hey, I like that a lot better than what you just said.
I think it fit really good. Smith is the run back to the Tasir Mack and Pickett. Then put Hutchinson in there. You could go Robertson if you wanted to, but we don't have Kohler there, so I think this is a nice little lineup. We've got a 3-stack. We've got to run back somebody here. So, or I could do this. I could do this too. I could take out Pickett, and you could pick another wide receiver that we could go to.
Yeah, it needs to be Xavier Worthy. If you're playing Thompson, Worthy's the upside. 100%. Yep.
And so then we're at 7,100. We can go to David Bell, or we could go to Downing. We could even go to a guy like Rambo if we wanted to.
I actually like Zach Evans, the running back for TCU at 7K. Just a stud, man, through and through. But he had some weird, like at the beginning of the week, he took all of his mentions and pictures of TCU's football program off of all of his social media sites. But he was found at practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So he's confirmed in today. It was just a weird thing. Like, I don't know if he was pissed off at the program, but for some reason he took every single mention and picture he ever had of that program off. It was like stuff from his Pop Warner days and high school football pictures. It was weird.
Yeah, that is weird. So let's go to I don't understand why people do that. Like is unfollowing and following people like the new, like having people in your top 8? Like
Right. Yeah. My state style. And that ages us.
I mean, look, I'm turning 38 in like a month and a half here, so I'm old. By a lot of standards. Like my wife went out to the club last night to, go do like a Halloween thing, and she wanted me to come, and I was like, yeah, I'll come. And then I was like, no, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to go to a dance club. And it's been there, done that. I'm good. All right. So
that's that.
What we have is we are going to college football. So I've got a couple wagers that I've already placed. I like Pittsburgh and I like Cincinnati, and I parlayed them together with the spreads. So look, if you like either of those, it's great. If you have your own, that's even better, because I do need a 5-leg parlay. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. First one, I like Purdue at +7.5.
And you said Iowa too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think. Look at the odds on that, because you can get them winning, which I think they win, at +40 outside of, I would rather take the better odds, right? I think they win.
Let's do it. Yeah. Okay. So we've got that, and then what time is the Purdue game? It's at 12, right?
Yes. Purdue against Nebraska, probably one of the top 6 games.
They really should have a search function here. Like
especially with how many games are going on at once.
Yeah, it's super annoying. But I can also do this Big Ten. I don't know. Are they in the East or are they in the West? I guess.
Just keep scrolling.
Purdue.
There we go.
Purdue +7.5.
Yep.
All right. Who are the other two? Where are we going now?
Let's see. You need 2 more. I like
3 more. 3 more. Need 3 more.
3 more. Okay. Let's go to. See, I got it on my app right here. Ole Miss at +3. They're going to be a night game, so you're going to have to scroll down a little bit to get there. Oh my goodness! Look at all those games.
Ole Miss +3. All right, got it.
All right. While you're down there, stay in that area. I like Notre Dame at -3.5.
That was the other one. I love the Notre Dame. I thought North Carolina. I mean, just from what I've seen, by what I've seen, it's like results, what they should have done, the talks that we've had. I felt like North Carolina came out flat against teams that they should have just absolutely handled, and Notre Dame just really, really hurt me. I watched some of the Notre Dame game. We had a lot of money on the same game parlay for the Notre Dame USC, and that did not work out well. I was like, this isn't happening. So.
Notre Dame came out physical, and that's what they're going to do again against North Carolina. North Carolina's just not a physical team, so I think Notre Dame pounds them. And I think I have some player prop parlays for us today, because I saw DK Sportsbook was doing that for us as well. Let's see. What do you need? One more game?
Yeah, one more game. I'll float one if you don't have it. It is.
Let's go to, I do. I have one. Kentucky. I think that they win, and they're actually not favorites in this matchup. Against Mississippi State, right there. Yep, right under.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take the 2 points here. It's not that big of a difference, so we'll grab the points. We'll hit the profit boost, and then it's probably gonna tell me I can't bet that much. Yep, we're gonna go with 33. Keep the picks in the bet slip. Let's go. We're gonna take Iowa 100. We're gonna go 50, 50, 100, 50. We'll do a little $20 there. The other one that I was going to float to you, and we don't have to include it here, would be the I want to say it's Oregon versus Colorado, I believe.
Yeah, it's probably +14 or 17. The only thing is Colorado slows teams down, and Oregon plays to team speed. Okay. That's the issue with them. They would remind me of a team let's see, in the NFL, almost like the Detroit Lions, but they're much better. They're going to win the games, but they're going to play good against good teams, and they're going to play terrible against terrible teams. So I don't like to play Oregon, especially against Colorado, who really slows the ball and the game down completely.
Okay, so what are the player props? What are the games that you have the props in?
Yeah, let's see. Number 1 would be Kennedy Brooks for Oklahoma, over 95.5 rushing yards.
Give me a second here. I gotta find the game first, because it's not user friendly. Alternate spreads.
I think at the top there should be something to click on that says player props. I don't see it on yours. It's weird.
Yeah, again, it might not be. You know what? Here, we can do this, though. We can do probably if we hit it in team stat. No, and it might not be just it might be part of the legality of it, to be quite honest.
Yeah, especially in the state that you're in, it might not allow you to bet on the props for players.
Yeah, it's one of those things where probably you can bet on the institution, but when you start betting on the players, you're betting on minors in some cases or something like that, and so it's just not legal. Or
yeah, I see it right now, like where it says game lines up at the top on my app. Right next to it is player props, and you don't even have that icon. So yeah, it must not be an option.
Yeah.
All right, no big deal.
So all right, so let's throw in one other one here. We've got Pittsburgh. You felt good about Iowa winning. I'm just curious what we can do with a crazy parlay here before we sign off. Do you have any like final thoughts while I'm clicking here about the slate, bets, anything?
Yeah, give me just a moment. I absolutely do. Let's see. Full warm-ups beginning, and Abanaconda and Addison are in full pads and look ready to go. So basically what we talked about, both those players are in, so that lineup is good with Abanaconda. It's not 100% confirmed, but definitely all the beat writers are saying arrows are looking up. Anything else? No, I just, that Wake Forest game, Duke game, if anybody was looking for a game stack out there that wanted to have the late hammer, I mean, it's a great game to go to, and I would play Hartman on the quarterback side for Wake. I'd bring it back with Roberson, and then on Duke's side, they've got a couple good wide receiving options. Jake Bobo at 5,600 is a nice value wide receiver. He's been seeing a ton of targets. He doesn't have a game where he has less than 4 receptions. 4 receptions is his lowest game total. And they actually have Jalen Calhoun set at 6,300. Do not buy it on that price. It's kind of a smoke screen from what he did last week. So if you're game stacking that, for sure, Jake Bobo. And then Wake Forest can be ran on. So Mateo Durant is an interesting piece at 7,700 if you're looking for a different game stack, especially that late hammer, 4 o'clock. That game will be going on until about 8 o'clock. These college games take forever.
All right, so a couple last bits here. Over under 61.5 Texas Baylor. Do you want to touch it? No. Yes.
Sorry, one more time.
Over under 61.5 Texas Baylor. Yeah.
If we're hitting the game stack, yeah, absolutely. Let's hit the over.
All right. And then UCF minus 12 against Temple on the road. No interest.
Actually, yeah, no interest because they still don't have their starting quarterback. They're going to hand the ball off. It's just going to be slow, so I don't expect them to win.
And then last one, Wake Forest Duke, 71.5.
Ooh, under.
You think under? Okay.
Well,
then I'm not touching it.
Okay.
All right. So this would be a nice little parlay here. We'll throw a little 50 spot on that to win 3,000. I've got the Iowa money line, Pittsburgh, Kentucky money line, Cincinnati, Notre Dame spreads, and then the over 61.5. Boom.
I like it. Sweet, man.
All right. Well, fantastic. Thanks for joining me again today. Enjoy your day watching the games, and I will be right back here in about an hour and a half, 2 hours with Sam to go over the NFL DFS slate. So thanks everybody for watching, and have a fantastic Saturday.
See you, everybody.